All right, today we're diving into a really personal and pretty disturbing story. It's a first person account of some medical encounters that led one person to believe they were the target of deliberate sabotage. We're going to walk through their narrative step by step to understand exactly how this deep sense of mistrust took root. Right off the bat, this quote just sets the stage for everything. You can feel the tension, right? This isn't a story about getting well, it's a conflict. The author sees this whole thing as a battle they are desperate to win, and that adversarial tone hangs over everything that follows. So you gotta ask, where does all this intense mistrust come from? Well, according to the author, this didn't just appear out of nowhere. No, they believe it's rooted in some very specific, very troubling past experiences that we need to look at first. Okay, this timeline is basically the origin story for their suspicion. It all starts about 4 years back with a surgery. After that, the author felt the surgeon was being, in their words, oddly insistent about a second procedure, so they said no. But the real breaking point, the moment that seems to have changed everything for them, happened after they left a hospital. They decided to remove their own stitches, and that's when they made a really shocking claim that they found gauze sewn right into the wound. And that experience, it seems to have cemented this powerful belief in their mind that there's some group out there that is, and I quote, hell-bent on taking you out however they can. This idea becomes the critical lens through which they see everything that happens next. So, with that history of deep suspicion as our backdrop, we get to the core of the story, a recent involuntary stay in a psychiatric ward. 4 days. The author makes a point of this number. And in those 4 days, their feeling of being a target would just intensify, all based on a series of events they're about to describe. So while they were there, a few things happened that really ramped up their fears. They claimed that the staff wouldn't give them messages from their roommate, and then their personal computer was taken and moved to a safe, apparently without their permission. They had to demand it back twice. Now, in the author's mind, these weren't just simple mistakes or hospital policy. They were seen as deliberate acts of isolation and control. And then, this is where things get really weird. It's the moment the author's past suspicions just slam right into their present reality, all because a familiar face shows up completely out of the blue. And this is the central question that's just screaming in the author's mind. It makes no sense, right? A surgeon, especially that surgeon, why would they be on the psychiatric floor? It's just out of place, and it immediately set off alarms. The author says they saw the exact same surgeon from 4 years ago. You know, the one they thought was oddly insistent, right there in the psych ward. And the reason he was there? Apparently, just to say hi. And the author's reaction just says it all. It seemed really weird. For them, this was no coincidence. It felt like a confirmation, a sign that whatever happened in the past was directly connected to why they were locked up now. This brings us to the climax of the whole story, and it's the author's most explosive claim, an act of deliberate medical deception involving their medication. Here's the core of it. The author claims they were told they were being given Ativan, which is a pretty common anti-anxiety drug, but they are absolutely convinced it was actually Haldol, a powerful antipsychotic. So why is this switch such a big deal? Well, according to the author, Haldol has a very specific and, in their view, sinister effect. They believe it can actually make a non-schizophrenic person appear schizophrenic. It could create the very symptoms that would justify the diagnosis they feel is being unfairly pushed on them. So let's walk through how this allegedly played out. Step 1, they're given a medication and told it's Ativan. Step 2, when they're discharged, they get a prescription for 60 pills. Now, the author doesn't see this as a new treatment plan. They believe it's a refill for the Haldol they were secretly being given all along. And their response? Absolutely not. They refuse to take it. And they have their reasons for refusing it. First, they argue the prescription was handed out without any real psychiatric evaluation. They're also really dismissive of the staff, calling them inexperienced teens and mean girl types. And ultimately, they see this prescription as another attack, something designed to damage my brain again. This quote is just, it's really chilling. You can see a memory completely twisting in their mind. What was once a moment of gratitude, smiling at a nurse, is now reinterpreted as a moment of deep betrayal. That kind smile is reframed as a malicious act, happily sending them off with a weapon. And that's where the account ends, leaving us with this massive question that goes way beyond just this one person's story. When a patient's perception of reality is in direct conflict with their medical diagnosis, what happens? It forces you to think about that really difficult line between psychiatric care and a person's own autonomy. And it makes you wonder what safeguards are in place for people who feel the system itself is what's hurting them. There are definitely no easy answers here.